Hey, welcome back to the Begin Within Health Show. I'm continuing my anecdotal journey of tracking my heart rate variability and seeing what I can learn about stress and rest, and then passing those lessons on to you. Let's dive in. You're listening to the Begin Within Health Show with Nate Slager. For more, go to beginwithin.fit/podcast, or to enroll right now in our flagship coaching program, go to beginwithin.fit/coaching. All right. If you were with me last week, episode 251, we talked a lot about this journey that I've been on. And I told you a little bit of the story about my Garmin Instinct heart rate variability monitor that I've been wearing and the lessons that I've learned. I kind of showed you what the readout looks like. And today I want to continue to dive into the specific things that I have found are impacting my body battery more than I ever imagined. I'm not even kidding. This has blown me away. And these are things now that as a result, I have adjusted. And again, I'm coming at you as somebody in fitness. I have worked out consistently, lifted weights, eaten my veggies, drinking my water, doing things as healthfully as I possibly could. But tracking stress by means of heart rate variability has changed my perspective on some things that I would have thought, yeah, not that big of a deal. Probably not the greatest idea, but not that big of a deal. I have seen the readouts on heart rate variability and stress and rest, and it has changed my approach. So if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, what I want to do, I will pull up for you my app, the Garmin app that helps me kind of make sense of the things that are coming through the um, on the wrist monitor. And I just want to show you this. I showed this in episode 251. The stress are the red, right? The red spikes. The rest and recovery are blue. And then this white line right here is something they call body battery. Again, I have no connection to Garmin. Garmin, if you want a partnership, an affiliate partnership, you come on over. Let me know. But I just think their program is really cool. Dr. Torquil Farrow is he's a proponent of it as well in his book The Pulse Cure, and that's how I came across it. So this white line right here is their body battery. That's what they call it. So it gets depleted by stress. It gets charged up by rest. Okay. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you. There are certain things that I have done in my life and that some that I still do every single day. They drain the body battery. They give me red spikes. And, but appreciating that, appreciating the kind of the power or the influence that they have over my stress and rest has moved me to make some adjustments. And again, you may be wondering, why is this so important? Because stress, high levels of stress, unresolved stress, chronic stress over time, from whatever place it comes, increases our risk of disease. So we talked about that last week in episode 251. If you haven't heard it, start there, then come on over here and continue the conversation. Last time we also talked a lot about sleep and how I found, that's the time you plug in. Make sure you're getting enough of it. If you're not, your body battery's not getting charged enough, the next day you're going to be using it. So it's going to go even lower. And if it doesn't get fully charged, it's going to get even lower the next day. So making sure that you're getting enough sleep and again, quality sleep, doing whatever you can to get that, put those things in place because it makes a huge, huge difference. But step one is, are you getting enough shut eye? Are you getting enough hours laying in bed with your eyes closed in the dark? That's step one, I think. So sleep. That's when those blue lines come in nice and thick, and that's when the body battery really charges. So sleep is super important. And the reason I'm going back there is because the first things that I want to share with you are things that affect sleep. So what I have found is some nights I've even had red stress during sleep, or my rest bands, those blue bands, were not quite as low as they could have been or had been other nights. And so my battery wasn't charging up as fully. Okay. Does that make sense? So I found that some nights the body battery wasn't charging up as much as others. And so I started to say, what was it that night? What was different? Okay. And here's one of the big ones. This one, and not that this was a huge part of my life, but it definitely was the biggest thing that affected my ability to charge that body battery during a night of sleep. Alcohol. Okay. And I am talking, for me, one. One drink made a huge difference. And I know that was the thing because I'm not doing that all that often. So one night I had a bourbon cocktail, which over the years has kind of been my one of my favorite ones. And whoa, I had red bands throughout, a good chunk of the night. The body battery, even after that, wasn't charging up. I had, blue rest bands, but they were higher, closer to that stress line than other nights as a result. So, what did I learn? Alcohol produces stress, okay? Or it reduces heart rate variability because your body's working on processing that. It's increasing your stress load. So if you're somebody who's having it on a regular basis, just be aware, right? Alcohol's been tied to increased risks of different diseases, right? And there's a reason for it because of the stress that it's putting on the body on a consistent basis. So keep that in mind. Again, so for me, it's become even more of a once in a while thing. And I'm definitely more cognizant of the quantity that I would have had. Not that I was somebody that was a heavy drinker before, but man, I'll tell you what, less than ever in my life. And it's a result of looking at the impact on stress and rest thanks to a heart rate variability monitor. So big shift for me. Um, and maybe for you, like, Nate, I already heard this, I know this, I'm not going to change it for me. I would say, you know what? Maybe for you, get a get something that can help you track what happens. It might be enough just seeing the change in your stress levels. It might be enough to shift your perspective on it because it made a huge difference for me that night that I noticed it. That first night that I had uh, a drink. So anyway, it's there. I'm not saying you can't ever have alcohol. I mean, that's up to you. But for me, less than ever before. Like, why, this is like special occasions or whatever, however you want to look at it. Very, very once in a while. Okay. Now, another thing that definitely impacts the stress on your body is eating. I know you're like, wow. It used to be, I used to think rest and digest, they were together. Um, Digesting food causes stress, right? So that heart rate variability is elevated. So, what you would find if you're tracking is that you may be having pretty low stress in your day. After you eat a meal, you will see that stress level. Those red bands are elevated if you're using the same system to track your stress and rest, which means your body battery is going to be getting depleted during that time, right? So, eating is stressful, and what influences the amount of stress, at least for me, is the quantity that I had to eat, also the quality of the food, right? If I had like a burger and fries, the stress was much higher for a longer period of time. So the big takeaway for me was this, and we've talked about this before, but have space between meals. When you eat a meal and then don't snack until it's time for the next meal. And if you're feeling hungry between meals, and I'm talking about like 2 to 3 hours between meals, this is for me. Again, this is just me. I'm not giving you any kind of prescription here. Just sharing what I learned for myself is if I was getting hungry between meals, the question was, what did I have the meal before? Was it truly a square meal? Did I have fiber? Did I have protein? Did I have some healthy fat? And of course, carbohydrates, that will be fine. For me, I like those earlier in the day, closer to the time that I work out. But it does make a difference. It takes a toll on your body's stress to just to digest food. So if you're going to do it, digest good food and then give your body time to do that work before you eat again and um, have to digest more food. Does that make sense? So that again, anecdotal experience from me. If you're like me, that's what you would find. Maybe for you, it's a total different experience. If you're somebody who's been into tracking this, I'd love to hear what you have found. But for me, square meals, take a break in between them. Snacking, probably not, just because I know what it's doing to the stress. And there have been times, certainly, when I have felt like, ooh, I'm starting to get hungry. Oh, you know what? It is time. Maybe it is time to, eat again. But I know that we're going out to dinner soon, or I know Amanda's making dinner and we're going to be sitting down to eat soon. So I'll just wait. For me, okay, I'm hungry, but I'll just wait because I know right now on an empty stomach, I'm probably doing my body battery some good, and I will happily wait till the next meal. And before I understood those concepts, but before I saw those bands of stress and rest, it didn't quite mean the same thing to me. So it has definitely changed my approach to eating. Now, that applies to bedtime as well. So eating, for me, eating too close to bedtime, it might not have affected my sleep that I could perceive, but it definitely affected how restful my sleep was. Again, looking at heart rate variability as it was being tracked through the night, my initial, part of my night, not as restful, in fact, more stressful, even though I was sleeping and I was laying in bed. Um, More stressful because of that digestive process. So for me, what I learned, and we've said this before, we've had experts talk about it on the show. If you can go to bed not having just ate, right? So we're talking about no nightcaps. We're not talking about any before bed snacks. If you can have dinner and then go to bed hours later, you're going to sleep better and your sleep is going to be much more restful. Again, in general, basing this on my own experience, what I have found tracking heart rate variability and the impacts of the choices that I'm making. Okay. Um, I definitely noticed that days that I feel drained, and that's not very often, but there are definitely days when I feel psychologically drained. I feel whatever it is, emotionally drained. I may be more prone to, you know, making a impulsive decision or whatever. You know what I mean? When you're just kind of like, oh, I'm so tired today. Like I'm just kind of dragging. Those days are definitely days when my body battery is saying the same thing. I never found that I felt drained, but the body battery was like, "Oh, you're doing awesome. Keep up the great work. We got tons of energy." Okay, and uh, pretty much the same, right? I never had it where I was like I was feeling great, and then the body battery monitored as being really bad. So there was definitely a strong connection there for me. Interestingly as well, I did have one kind of period of illness, and I remember the day before I was like, this is weird. Why do I have so much more stress than normal? And I didn't really feel like I was more anxious or whatever. I just was like, wonder what's going on with my body. And then sure enough, I had some symptoms of some cold and flu symptoms the next day or two. Um so that was interesting as well, right? And the kind of last thing that I'll say that I have definitely been trying to do is just take more deep, focused breaths. Breathe more throughout the day, in between tasks, as I'm, you know, going upstairs to go grab something or whatever, right? When I just taking a breath when I walk in the room, when I get to the top of the steps, like just honestly, just trying to be more conscious of the fact that everything I do takes energy. It's draining that body battery, and just Just getting some good oxygen in there and taking a nice deep breath as often as I can has been helpful as well. That's something that I'm working on. And then I've just been kind of experimenting with some supplements, some herbal supplements that are supposed to be good for stress and kind of seeing how much does that impact my body battery and those red and blue bands that I showed you, just taking a look at those. The last thing that I'll say, and you might have noticed this when I shared my phone, is that that particular day I shared, I didn't have I didn't have anything at night on either end. And this, I don't know, this maybe it's kind of a little embarrassing. I don't, and it's actually a real thing. And now that I'm thinking about it, I was going to try to pull this article back up and share it with you in the show notes. But um, tracking, in particular, my sleep. And maybe as you're listening to these last two episodes, episode 251, now episode 253, you're like, this guy is maybe a little too into this. I don't really think I am, but um, I definitely had some nights where the knowing that I was being monitored in my sleep, it affected my sleep. Okay. And so that was interesting. I didn't really expect that. And, retrospectively, we've used different sleep trackers in the past. Experts also, I should say, as far as sleep trackers go, they appear to be really, really intuitive. I went to a conference recently and there was, an expert talking about them. And, he said, really? We aren't these sleep trackers that you just use at home, the wrist monitors and stuff like that. It's like they're really not all that accurate. They appear to be, but they really aren't. But anyway, where I'm going with this is being watched while I was sleeping, even by this little wrist monitor. Some nights, I know that it affected my sleep. I'd roll over, I'd kind of wake up, and then I'd be like, oh no, I'm, and then I would start to think about, I got to get to sleep. I got to get rest. I got to charge this body battery. And apparently, more competitive people can have some issues with these trackers. So, my last little piece observation for myself was that there are some nights where I put the watch on the nightstand and just leave it there because I know for whatever reason that night I want to get a really good night of sleep. I don't want to have any external influence of trying to get sleep. If that makes sense. So and again, like I said, this is a thing. You're not alone if that's what you find as you're tracking this kind of thing that it kind of gets in your head a little bit and skews the results. Other people have experienced it. I have myself, and maybe for you it's no issue at all. But what helped me is just taking the watch off while I was sleeping. And after doing that for, I forget, maybe a week or two, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try it again. And it hasn't been that big of a deal coming back into it. But again, if I have problems, I'm rolling at night and I know I have it on and I'm like, oh, that wristwatch is watching me sleep. And, I'll just slip it off my wrist and set it aside and know that it's going to be okay. So the big thing here is that on a day-to-day basis, we're not getting too uh, over invested. We're not getting too overwhelmed about what's happening with the body battery, with the red bands and the blue bands, and we're trying to control every aspect. What we're trying to do is look for patterns. We're trying to know that we have some influence over this process. We're trying to say, oh, you know what? I tend to be experiencing more stress than is healthy. I need a little bit more rest in my life. I need a little bit more sleep, right? Trying to look for things that are common patterns and then making adjustments um, in order to address those, in order to improve. And that's what it's all about, right? Just improving health wherever we're at now. We get some data, we get some feedback, and then we improve it. And maybe something else that would help is, and I found this, just don't look at it all that often. Don't look at your app and like, how was last night's sleep? Oh, how have I been doing so far this morning? How was my workout? How have I been doing this afternoon? How, right? just once in a while, a couple times a week, take a look and try to see some patterns. Or if you do something new, you do something different, well, then check out how it affects you, right? Oh, I did something different tonight. I had a cocktail. Well, then look the next day. Hey, I wonder how that cocktail, this affected me. Just kind of interesting, right? Interesting to see. I felt super, super tired last night. I was sure I was going to get a great night of sleep, and I feel like I did. But what? How did my body battery charge? Just taking a look at those kind of exceptional circumstances and seeing how they affect you as well, and it'll help you make sure that you're on the path to making healthier decisions overall. And if you're someone who doesn't want to do this at all, that's okay, right? You definitely don't need a heart rate variability monitor in order to be a healthier person. We just need to keep moving in a healthier direction by making decisions that you know are improving your health and helping you feel better along the way. So that has been my experience so far. I wanted to share it with you. I thought for me, it's been life changing. It's been a great experience. So I want to pass it along. And I hope for you that it's helpful. If you want to do some heart rate variability monitoring, check it out. It's been kind of interesting for us. But if it's not the thing for you, or like I said, you notice that it's kind of getting inside your head, maybe don't. It's okay. You don't need it to be healthy. But the lessons that we are learning as experts and as individuals who are concerned about health, the lessons we're learning from tracking heart rate variability are going to help us all. So I would say this, um, action step: do what you can to make life less stressful and more restful. And whether you're tracking the results or not, if that's a focus for you and you continue to make some adjustments along the way, you're going to be moving in the right direction. So, the question for you: what could you do? What's an action you could take to make life less stressful and more restful? When are you going to take it? How will you commit to taking it? Take it. Move forward. Keep moving in a healthier direction. I will talk with you again soon. And until then, you know what to do. Keep taking good care of yourself.